Hey everybody, welcome to Fired Up. We're so glad that you joined us tonight. Tell us in the chat where you are joining us from. We'd love to hear from you. I am in Atlanta. Erica on the line is in Atlanta as well. We got Tim here from Springfield. Tell us in the chat where you're joining from tonight. We love to see it. We'll wait for a few of those to come in. Dun, dun, dun.
I'm excited. I'm hungry.
Me too. Me too. All right, we got a Pittsburgh. We got a Cincinnati, Palm City, Florida. Let's see. Sandyston, New Jersey. Joyzy in the house. Mike is from the Bay Area. Awesome. Memphis. Great. Indiana. Great representation across the country. This is awesome. Thank y'all so much for joining us. This is great. Well, I am Michelle Morris. I am on the marketing team here at Kamado Joe. We have Erica Tolber on the line with us as well. She's helping manage our YouTube platform tonight. And then we have our host, esteemed host, Tim Shelburn here, Kamado expert, our Fire Squad ambassador, and just a great resource for you guys tonight. So he's going to be sharing his recipe. We're going to run through and spend the time talking a little bit about some of our new accessories and sharing some recipes and, just getting to know each other a little bit better. So if you've never been a part of a Fired Up class, we're so glad that you're here. We host these virtual classes about twice a month-ish, and they're focused on all different recipes and techniques. So it's really meant to encourage you and help you to learn your grill a little bit better. We'd love for you to cook along with us or just follow along and participate. So no pressure either way, but be sure to join the Kamado Joe email list if you're not already a part of that, just to hear about the future classes or follow us on social as well. But tonight, Tim, you want to tell us a little bit about what we're making?
Thank you, Michelle. We are doing steak fajita tonight. It's a pretty simple, quick recipe. I know it's not Taco Tuesday, but it's Taco Wednesday today. We skipped our normal routine last night so I could have our tacos tonight, but this is basically what we're going to do is season and sear the skirt steak. We've got onions and peppers. I've also got some pico, some cheese. We've got avocado. We've got sour cream. Just kind of throw everything together into a great street taco. Super quick and easy. Some of the things I want to do first is kind of go over the setup for our cook. We will be using the griddle, the carbon steel griddle. This is amazing, by the way. This is one of my absolutely favorite accessories right now. So it has it's about 1.25 inch rim around the outside that keeps everything from kind of going over the edges. And if you've had a griddle, you know what I'm talking about. Everything kind of pulls to the middle here where the hot spot is. This is where you're going to get the most heat, right in the middle. And then you also have a vent here to drain. And that's going to, if you have any excess grease or any kind of, anything you need to discard, you can just get rid of here in the little grill here. What we're going to do is I'm going to go over the process for setting up the griddle accessory on the Connected Joe. That's what we're using today. So with my second camera.
While you get that set up, Tim, I'm just going to quickly run through some housekeeping things, and then we'll jump into the Connected, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
Real quick. Yeah, so just a couple quick things. So we're going to spend the next hour or so just kind of learning and getting to know Tim and hearing about this recipe. If you registered for the class through email, you will get a recording of the class after this. If you are just joining us from social, that recording will be available on social as well for you to go back and reference. If you are joining us via Big Marker, the platform, stay on the line and we'll do a giveaway at the end. And if you are not joining us through Big Marker, make sure you register on that email list and become a part of that email list for the future classes so you can sign up to be a part of those giveaways. There will be a slight lag in the video feed just based on the software. So if it takes 1 second for us to sync up, that's why. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up there. And we just want to encourage you guys to talk to one another in the chat. So the chat is for you guys to have that live conversation. And then if you have any questions for Tim, I'm here in the background to kind of feed those questions. So just pop those into the Q&A section. We'll make sure that they get addressed. But just wanted to quickly cover off on that stuff. Sorry, Tim, back to you, and I will fade into the background.
You are A-okay. So what we're going to do, now let's get our feed caught up here. We're going to switch over to my secondary camera. So with the Connected Joe, to set the modes, you need to pop the lid open. And then what that's going to do, it's going to have different bows to pick from. And so what we're going to want to do is, if it'll give me the griddle mode, I bet it won't because I already started it. Okay, of course it's going to do that. I actually had this lit earlier, and now it's not going to reset itself because I already got it up to 300 degrees. Okay, well.
Yeah, no big deal. We can always talk about the quick feature set on the Connected 2 for people who might not be familiar with it, and I'm happy to do some of that. But if you guys don't know what Connected Joe is, we encourage you to check it out. It's the first digitally connected ceramic grill. So what you saw down there on that digital control panel was there was an automatic fire starter. So there's a button that you can literally press, and that will light your charcoal and get you to temperature in under, let's call it 15 minutes or so. That digital control panel, which you saw Tim kind of putting his fingers on and stuff, that is giving you the ability to graph your cook. It's helping you with alerts and set up the cook modes like he talked about. And then it's, of course, connected to the Kamado Joe app. So that's really giving you the ability to set the time and the temperature on the grill, to monitor your meat probes, and to browse some recipes. So you're getting all of that versatility, the temperature range, 225 to 700. So everything you do inside, you can do outside.
Okay, I got it working. I figured it out. When I kicked out the power earlier, I accidentally unplugged the power cord. Okay.
Nice.
Perfect. So I just reset it. So here we go. So, and I think it's backwards. Okay, so this screwed that. So on the screen, you've got different options. You got Dojo, the rotisserie, and then you got the griddle. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick the griddle option, and then close the lid. And then it's going to say griddle mode up here at the top. And then you're basically going to just set your temperature range, close the draft door. So this Connected Joe actually works with the door closed at the bottom, and then you adjust everything up at the top in the control tower. And so we have this set to between 300 and 350 degrees. So if we need to adjust that, we can just kick out and go to a higher temperature. And there we go. So what you're going to notice is with the Connected Joe, it actually has a fan in it that will stoke the fire and get you up to temperature quickly. So this guy will be up to temperature super fast. I had forgotten that I'd kicked that power strip earlier, and so I had to reset it. So we are good to go now. So now that we're back on track, I think we may have lost Michelle. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going.
Nope, still here.
Oh, okay. Good. I didn't see you on the screen. So, so our next process is going to be getting the steak ready. So we have basically this is just a 1 pound skirt steak. You can season this with anything. I use Meat Church, which is a Dia de la Fajita. It's one of my favorites. So basically what we're going to do with this is we're just going to season both sides of the skirt steak. Apply the rub liberally, and then after that, we're just going to let it sit and kind of sweat a little bit for, about 10 minutes while I prep the vegetables. Just apply this liberally on all sides. And the skirt steak's going to have a little bit of fat on there. I usually just leave it just so it'll help with the caramelization and a little bit extra flavor. It's mostly going to disappear when you sear it on the griddle, so no need to worry there. So now that we've got this seasoned up, we're just going to let it sweat for about 10 minutes while I finish the vegetables. So for our vegetables today, we have, I'm using actually a sweet yellow onion or Vidalia onion. We've also got green bell pepper. Those are the two main ingredients. The other things I have in my tray here are the toppings. We're going to use pico de gallo. We've got some sour cream. We've got cheddar. And then I also have some guacamole. So we're going to go ahead and finish slicing up the peppers. And this is a julienne cut. So real thin little strips. And we're going to do thin cuts for the onion as well. All right. Lots of onions and peppers. Okay. So once you slice those up, you're going to have julienne, the small strips of peppers and onions. And these are ready to go. So what I'm going to cook first is the peppers. So if we go to our other camera, let me get us in position here. Not quite in view. Okay. So we should be good to go. The one accessory that I like to use when having a griddle is it's an instant read infrared thermometer. And so this is going to help you just read the temperature of the grill. So we're at 500 degrees right now, pretty hot. So what we're going to want to do is as we add the peppers, we'll add a little bit of olive oil to this. It's going to shine and shimmer real quick. And as we add these, we got sizzle. And then one tip that I have for this is instead of just cooking the peppers straight away like this in the oil, they're going to burn and they're going to char a little bit. So what you're going to want to do is just add a little bit of water to this. And what this will do, is it's going to actually steam the vegetables as they cook. So you'll get tender more quickly, and you won't char them or burn them before they're actually ready to serve. So we're going to let this water settle down a little bit. And then after it does, go ahead and stir these. And these are going to take, 6-7 minutes to cook. So as those are cooking, we've got our meat sweating on the side. We'll add it here in a second as soon as these cook down a little bit. We'll go ahead and pop the vent on the bottom so we can get some more temperature to the bottom of this griddle. This was at 500 degrees. If we check it now, we're going to be much lower after we've added the food. So, this is dropped tremendously. It's in half now, so we're about 250 degrees. So you're going to want this griddle to get back up to temperature after you've added things. The one best way to do this is close the lid. Since the Kamado is going to retain heat super well, it's also going to heat that griddle back up quickly, more efficiently. So while that is going, I'll have my meat over here. We're almost ready for that. So right now it says our Kamado is at about 220 degrees. We need to get that up higher. So do we have any questions right now while these are cooking?
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about seasoning your griddle?
Yeah, the seasoning. So I've used this one quite a few times. So it's got a fairly good coat on it. So what you want to do as soon as you purchase your new carbon steel griddle is clean it with soap and water, get it clean. The next thing would be to put it in your Kamado, get it up to 200 degrees or so. Apply whatever oil you use for seasoning. There's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of products out there that you can actually use to season this griddle. You can use flaxseed oil. You can use grapeseed oil, vegetable oil. peanut, any kind of oil, basically. Some will be better for high heat. The flaxseed, grapeseed. There's some other products out there, Crisby. I know that there's another one, Buzzy or something. But anyway, so those work as well too. So what you want to do is get it up to, just about 200 degrees or so, apply a coat of that. And then you bring the temperature of the Kamado up to about 400 degrees and let it sit for about an hour. And what that's going to do, it's actually going to bake in that seasoning. Then go ahead. You can do it at 400 degrees again. It might burn yourself, but let it cool a little bit. You can just repeat that process, just as many times as you want, really. Usually when I season a new griddle or a new cast iron pan, I'll do about 3 coats. And then another thing you can do with this, don't soak it or don't throw it in the dishwasher or anything like that. But what you want to do with this is after you're finished, just lightly, like get a non, you don't want like a scrubby that's got scratch the surface. You want something like the blue ones or whatever or it's like a non-scratch scrubber. Just clean that off. A lot of times you can also use coarse salt with that scrubber, or with a lot of times people use potatoes. That's another method. But that way you can just keep applying that seasoning after you cook it. So and it's always good to just clean that. Don't let it set too long, and then just reapply your coating or a coating to kind of prep you for your next cook.
Awesome. That's great. Answered a couple questions there, which is awesome. Mark is asking, where do you store your griddle after you use it?
I have shelves in the garage that I put everything in. I sometimes lean it just anywhere that'll fit, really. It's it's about 18 inches diameter, so it's as big as a large Kamado. So it doesn't fit in the kitchen, or my kitchen anyway. Sometimes I will, since I do have more than one Kamado here, I have I have a classic and the connected. I'll just leave it inside one or the other and just swap it out, and just kind of just depending on which Kamado that I want to use. But other than that, I just have some wire racks in the garage that I set everything on. Obviously, if it is left outside, give it a good cleaning before you start using it.
Awesome.
It's 100 degrees where I am right now, so it's,
oh my gosh,
it's hot out here. All right, let's see where our peppers and onions are. Kamado's at 300, so we're starting to get some color here. They are softened. I don't think you can see that very well, but these are actually pretty soft now from that water. If they're not softening up on you quick enough, just add some more water and crank that heat up so it'll boil away. These are probably about 2 or 3 minutes away. I bumped the temperature up on this to get it up for time's sake here. A lot of times I just kind of slow things down and just enjoy what I'm doing. So these have a little bit more time. I'm gonna put some oil on here. All right. And we are looking good. Now, right before we get ready to plate these up or serve these, kind of towards the last 2 or 3 minutes, I'm gonna add seasoning to these. That way we'll have the maximum amount of flavor on that. It doesn't kind of get lost in the water and all the oil we're putting on there. You'll let that ramp up a little bit more. And then I will put the steak on.
Roger mentioned he's had good luck with using half of a white onion rubbed all over the cast iron and
potatoes. Onion, apple, anything that'll grab the salt, and then that'll help clean it off without actually messing with the seasoning.
Great.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Awesome. Patrick's asking, have you tried this with the Dojo?
I do not have a Dojo with the connected. I have a Dojo on my Big Joe, and I have done multiple pizzas with that. They turn out great. Small learning curve with that, just kind of controlling the fire and getting your temperatures right. But yeah, I have it. I have that accessory on the Big Joe, and it's great. I mean, we throw, even if it's just Papa Murphy's pizzas, just chuck those in there, and it does a really great job with it.
Yum. Said you made chicken last night, right? With the Joe Tisserie?
Yeah, with the Big Joe, I did the with the Joe Tisserie. I used the standard spit, so it was just a. My wife was like, "Let's get a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, like a pre-made one." I'm like, "Why? I'll go outside and cook one real quick." And it took it was about an hour. So we super fast. Basically, just get up the temperature. What you want to do with that is just get it. What I like to do is bank the charcoal on one side, so you have like all the charcoal on the back side of it, so it's not constantly getting hammered on both sides as it spins. But yeah, it kind of self-based itself. I put the seasoning on the chicken, and then I just sprayed butter just to kind of keep that seasoning intact, and it kind of bastes itself as it turns. But the Joe Tisserie, especially with that new rack attachment, is great. I need to do that again. I might do that this week.
Yeah, sounds so good.
Oh, yeah, I'm starving.
Me too.
If we don't have any more questions, these peppers and onions sound like they're getting pretty close. You can hear that sizzle with the lid closed. So there's something going on in here. So these are starting to get that char on them now. I don't know if you can see that in the shot or not, but you can actually
nice.
You can see the color now. So what we're going to want to do is now these are starting to get color, is I'm going to actually throw these off to the side, and we will add our steak. Brought a spatula. Okay. So now that we've got this off to the side, I'm going to, I'm not going to use a glove. We'll just throw these on. Okay. All right. So I'm going to kind of compress these a little bit so they fit on the grill. And these are going to cook pretty quickly. You can hear the sizzle now. They're going to probably 3 to 4 to 5 minutes aside. So we're going to want to make sure this is medium rare on the inside when we go to cut. So I'll take down here. You already see the color. You're getting a good sear on these. And again, I'm going to go ahead and close the lid. Closing the lid with the griddle is going to allow it to get back to temperature. It's going to heat up the griddle. It's going to keep it at temperature. With it being open and exposed, the air is going to cool it. It's not going to retain the temperature as much. It being a charcoal-based grill, so it's going to get back up to temperature. I'm going to let this go about another minute or two. It's starting to climb back up to 300 degrees right now. That's just where we're at on the dome temperature here. The actual temperature below the griddle is probably up closer to 500 degrees, 600 degrees. But up here at the top, we're not quite back to 300 yet.
Awesome. Let's see. Karen asks, do you ever pre-slice your steak?
You can, 100%. I like to do it this way. That way, that whenever you do slice it, you'll get the retain kind of some of the color in the meat as far as your doneness. I like to cut the tacos and still see the medium rare on the inside, but you can 100% do that. I pre-slice chicken, so if we were to do chicken fajitas, I slice those into strips. That way, every side of the chicken gets coated with the seasoning. It's just a personal preference of mine. It's different for different proteins. So in this instance, I like to keep it whole. I'm going to give this another flip. Starting to get char on here, which is good. We want that dark color and want everything to caramelize really well.
Let's see. So Alex from YouTube is asking if the digital panel on the Connected is sold separately. It is not. Just wanted to quickly address that. And then let's see, Sammy says, does the griddle limit the amount of smoke or charcoal flavor to the steak? Tim, I'll let you take that.
No. Okay, so it does fit in here really well. This is edge to edge all the way around. So there's not much room around this edge over here. Now there are gaps that allow smoke to get up through. There's a vent here that across the bottom that has that allows stuff to get back up. Now, one thing you're gonna notice is whenever you are running hotter temperatures, like on a griddle in this instance, the higher temperatures means you're not going to have smoke necessarily. Lower temperatures, you'll have smoke. A lot of times when you get up this hot, that's going to be absent, just with charcoal. So that's kind of what you're going to run into. Give this a good flip. Oh, that one's looking good. All right. Just going to give it a little probe here. My thermostat, see where we're at. We'll get pretty close. Yeah, so we're actually at about 132. So we're getting super close on this meat if we want to go with that. I'm going to try to get a little bit more color on here. This one on the side is probably finished.
Looks delicious. Yeah.
You should smell it.
I wish I could. I feel like I can just from watching it.
She's going to dive in as soon as we're done here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull some of these onions over here. Let's get a bit of this flavor kind of commingling here. See that sizzle. All right, we are pretty much done with this. This process is pretty quick. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and pull these off. We'll get these sliced up after they rest for a minute. I'm just going to plop these down on my cutting board here. All right. And then I'm just going to go ahead and move my camera. You can see what's going on over here. Maybe.
Yeah, we can see.
I see it on the screen over there. I don't see it on my phone. So, okay. So we've got our steak here. We grab some onions and some peppers off the grill. And then now that we're done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this, close this grill down. So if you want, you can also go ahead and take the griddle out so it doesn't continue to burn if you've got anything left on there, because it's kind of a nightmare to clean if you just let it cake on there and bake itself. So try not to do that if all possible. It'll just help you in the cleaning process later. So basically, we've got our meat. I've got... you can see this. I've got some pico. I've also got some cheese, and I've got some. It's store-bought guacamole. I'm sorry. Don't be mad at me. It's just easier sometimes. So what you're going to want to do with the skirt steak is, like any steak cut, you're going to want to cut it against the grain. And so you can see it on this. It actually goes this way. You can actually see it in the meat itself. It's really defined in this kind of cut. So super tender. Should grab a glove. And if you want to cut it up into smaller pieces, you can.
What was the temp that you pulled the steak off at?
It was about 138 degrees, so it's still going to be. This guy's still like this is super thin, so it's going to still pull apart. It's super tender. It's going to pull apart pretty easily. But this one cooked a little bit longer. This other piece here, as soon as I cut it, it's actually going to be a little closer to medium burn on the inside just because of the thickness of it. But yeah, I think it's about 140 once we get rested here. So basically just chop everything up, cut this as thick or thin as you want. And I like just to bring it into smaller pieces just so we can fit onto our taco shell. The shells that we're using today are just the small flour street tacos. These are great. You can just, I don't know, I can eat about 10 of them. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll just plate these up. Some tongs. So we'll just grab some of the steak. Again, some of these are a little bit long, but we'll just throw that on there. And you can see on this thicker cut, it's pink and it's actually it's close to medium on the inside, but it's super tender. Just comes apart in your hand, so it's going to be fantastic. All right, so we've got that. Let's put some onions and peppers. And then we can add our pico on top. And this is the store-bought pico. You can make your own, obviously, with peppers, onions, tomatoes. Throw in some parsley or cilantro. For this purpose, I did a pre-made. So, and then we have guacamole. We can also add that. I'm going to do every other one with this guac. And then we also have sour cream. You see how good these look on the screen?
So good. I'm so hungry.
So from YouTube, Peter said that he loves the technique that you used, and Scott Bartlow, another one of our ambassadors, says that it looks fantastic.
Yes. Well, Scott, I'm wearing Scott's shirt.
Nice.
He has a Fire It Up t-shirt, so I'm wearing that underneath my apron today for Scott. So basically that's it. So we've got, I'll pull one of these up, kind of get it close to the screen here. There you go. These are our tacos.
Looks delicious.
Super easy to make.
That's great. We got a couple more questions. Let's talk about the charcoal setup, which we didn't talk about in the get-go, and that was my bad. I actually have a photo that Tim shared of how much charcoal he put in the grill. Let me just share that quickly. Tim, do you want to talk quickly about the amount of charcoal used and then just the placement?
Okay, so this is sort of unique to the Connected Joe. It's super efficient on charcoal. And so with this particular grill, I actually fill it up pretty full because it's not going to waste the charcoal. So a lot of times if I was on a different grill, I maybe would have put a little bit less. If I was on the, let's say, classic Kamado Joe, I'd do a little bit less charcoal. I've noticed with the Connected Joe, it actually is a little bit, it preserves the charcoal. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, when I go to light this up the next day, it's still in there. It only burns. So what the Connected Joe has is it has a little heating element that's right in the center that actually lights the grill. And then there's a fan that circulates the air to get it to a specified temperature. So what I've noticed is a lot of times on these cooks, if you cook, shut it down, it's really only going to burn the charcoal where that fire, where the heating element is. And so a lot of times I'll fill this up with plenty of charcoal because I know that I'm not going to need to fill it up again tomorrow. And so That's my 2 cents about about the griddle on the Connected Joe. It is a little bit different on the other one, just because it's I feel like that the charcoal eventually spreads the way that you light it. It depends on how you light it, though. So if you're lighting, in the back and the front, all the sides, it's going to burn it out. But with the Connected Joe, it's only burning in about a 5-inch circle in the middle, and so you don't actually need as much charcoal.
That's great. That's super helpful. I feel like I prevented you from taking a bite, and I want to apologize for that.
You're fine. I was sitting in the chair on the couch or on the deck over here. I'm like, come get food.
Oh, invite them in. Yeah, get some food for sure. We do have another question if you're down. Someone was asking if you have any tips for cleaning the control tower. Would you mind sharing some of those?
The control tower, yeah. Basically, it is aluminum, and it has a powder coating on it. So it is somewhat, you have to do it a certain, you can't just go, crazy and throw it in the grill. So in the past, when you had a cast iron, top, like the, on the older ones, this daisy wheel is what they're called. This is cast iron. So this style here, I would just throw this in the grill and it'll clean itself. Now with this new one with the control top, it is aluminum. So that's a no-no. So what you want to do with the new control top is just throw this guy into, let me grab one. Just throw this into soap and water, hot water in the sink. And so some things you're going to notice is there's going to be, gunk in here. You're going to kind of clean that out. Some of these over time, the actual paint will come up. So just kind of scrub that with I've used, again, like a non-abrasive scrubby, and just take everything apart, 2 pieces. You want to do that. Let it soak. And then you also want this to, get it, once you get it open, this one's fused shut. I have to clean this one, but basically this swivels open on the top, and then underneath that will prevent this from sticking. So a lot of times if you get some stuff or some oil in here, this thing will stick together. So let this soak for a little bit, and then you'll be able to swivel it, and then you can get it cleaned up. But yeah, soap and water, and just use like a non-abrasive scrub on that.
Awesome.
My wife's going to grab some tacos.
Do it. Hello. So Patrick's asking, how many Joes does Tim have? Looks like
I have. I'm going to hand my wife this cutting board. There you go.
Hello, Tim's wife.
Thank you.
There goes the food. I have 5 Kamado Joes. So I have the Joe Jr. over here. This is a classic 2. Behind me here is the Connected Joe. And then I have a Big Joe 3. And then on the other side that doesn't fit in the view is the Kettle Joe.
Nice.
And so I kind of rotate through them all, and just depending on what I'm cooking in. So if I have, one main dish or something large, and then I've got 1 or 2 sides that I also need to cook, I'll throw them on the Big Joe 3. Sometimes if it's, burgers, and then I need, like a one smaller one, I'll light, these 2. I'll light the Joe Jr. and I'll light the classic. It just kind of depends on the application, like what you're wanting to do with it. So sometimes I'll cook burgers on the Joe Jr., and then on the classic, I'll actually fry French fries or something, And so it just kind of depends on the meal. But yeah, I do have 5 different Kamado Joes. I can't say that there's one I use more than others. It just kind of depends on what night it is and what I'm cooking. So I do say I use the Big Joe 3 quite a bit. Just because of versatility, I also have more accessories for it. I've got the rotisserie for it. I've got the dojo, different cast iron grates for different types of cooking. And then also it is 3 levels. So the 3 series Kamado Joes will have 3 different levels. And so what's good about that is, and then what I do quite a bit is, put one down to 1 grade really low, do a lot of searing that way, put 1 grade high, and then put ceramic in the middle. And then that will, give you 2 or 3 different levels, different temperatures as well. And so but yeah, it's fun. I love it.
That's the best. Let's see. Bill is asking, does anyone offer in-person KJ cooking classes? So we do not offer them, although we would love to have that maybe in the future. Fingers crossed. Tim, do you know of anybody that offers in-person, I guess, either ceramic grilling or KJ cooking classes?
Well, that would just be per city and also dealer.
Yeah.
A lot of times Kamado Joe will actually have a sanctioned event. It's called a block party. And so every now and again, Chef Gephardt will, travel around. Like here recently, he was down in Atlanta at Atlanta Grill Company. They had a massive Kamado Joe party out there. They, oh my God, I don't know how many people were there. They showed off the Connected Joe. Chef Eric was also up in New York recently demoing. It's a lot of the bigger markets. I do know that they get around, but a lot of it depends on their local dealer as well. I've asked my local dealer to do some kind of Kamado Joe festival, just show off the products, get a couple people out there, maybe do a steak cook-off or something. It doesn't have to be sanctioned. Just get the public involved. But yeah, it's I don't know of any myself, but that's.
Yeah, we do have events from time to time. That's a great way to answer that. So yeah, no official cooking classes, I would say, but we like to create an experience for people to participate and learn how to use the grill. So kind of get their hands on it alongside Chef or alongside someone like Tim or Scott. And we'll have those from time to time. So yes.
And another example is like Scott was in at Memphis May recently.
Yep.
And he did a fantastic Kamado Joe demo at the Home Depot booth.
Yep.
Chef Eric, I know that I've actually participated in World Food Championships. They had a beach party at one of the at the wharf at the World Food Championships one year. I was actually competing in the World Food Championships, I think in the burger category. But Chef Eric they brought this. Okay, so it's at the wharf in Orange Beach, Alabama, and they brought in this sand. It just completely made this massive. They had sand castles and. It was super cool event. They had Kamado Joes everywhere. It was fun.
I love it. Rob is asking, should you warm your tortillas on the griddle?
100% you can. I actually, a lot of times will put the oil down and then just kind of just heat them up, get a little bit of char on them as well. That's another option to do. Good tip.
Yeah, that's a good.
I should have done that.
That's a good one. Let's see. Jason's saying, do you have any tips for using this recipe or making this recipe on a Classic 2 with cast iron? So I guess
it would be the same process. So with the Classic 2, that's what this one is here. If you do not have the griddle, you can 100% do this in cast iron. So there's cast iron pans out there that have some larger ones that actually will fit inside the 18-inch Kamado that do not have the handles on it, but they don't have the long handles. So it actually they look. My rug about fell. They actually look very similar to this is the Kamado Joe paella pan. So this is the carbon steel. This is the new paella pan from Kamado Joe, and so you can actually find you can get this as well. You can do the same recipe in this as you did with the griddle. But if you don't, or if you already have your own cast iron, you can 100% do it in a pan that you already have. You would just do it separately. So I always cook the onions first. That way you'll have that flavor in the griddle or the skillet to flavor the steak.
Awesome. Cool. Eric is saying, can Tim talk about new charcoal versus used? Also, small lump versus big block. Which is suited to which type of cook?
Well, the newer charcoal is going to be hotter, just because of its hasn't been burnt yet. The older charcoal is going to, it's maybe half of its life yet left, so it's going to go out quicker. It's perfectly fine to use older charcoal, like maybe from the night before or even last week, whatever. What I like to do is maybe just put 2 or 3 chunks on top of the old charcoal just to light it to get it going. That way you can kind of get that heat up quicker. Now, as far as the size of lump itself, you kind of want to mix. You don't want the gigantic lumps and you don't want the tiny stuff. So the tiny stuff's going to fill all the air. It's not going to have good airflow. The large chunks is going to have too much space between the large chunks. So if you're throwing gigantic lump into your grill and you're like, well, it's not lighting, what's going on? The large chunks aren't touching, and so they're not actually lighting each other and getting going. So what you want to try to do is have kind of a mix of medium and large and mix them all together so that the charcoal's touching everywhere, and that way it'll actually light. I use the Big Joe or the Big Block from Kamado Joe. It has a good mix of different sizes, and it has great smoke and great flavor. But yeah, that's one thing you're going to notice. And it also depends on the size of the grill that you have. Like in the Joe Jr., you can't put the large blocks in there. You're going to have small stuff. Now, if you're going to use charcoal that maybe out of the bag is going to be, the size of a quarter, something like that, that's more dust than anything, try to stay away from that brand if possible. It's just because it's going to lead to, it's just going to be a mess. There's going to be more ash. And then you're not going to have great airflow and a consistent cook.
Great advice. Let's see. Karen is saying, what's a great starter, Joe, for a 30-year-old son?
Well, I would, if you want a starter one, I would just say get a classic one. So it's 18 inches. It's going to give you enough size. You can actually, put multiple dishes on there. I believe, I think they're $7.99. I think they may be a little bit cheaper depending on what market you're in. But that would be a good starter. It's a great grill. It's a Kamado Joe Classic series, which is the 18-inch series, and they have 1, 2, and 3, and that is the size vertically. So the 1 is going to be shorter, smaller, lighter. It's moving around pretty well. It's on the wheels. But that would be a good starter to go with. Another one, if maybe you don't have enough room, is the Joe Jr. These are 13 inches diameter. It also comes with a stand that is you can put on a tabletop. I have mine inside of a cedar table, but that would be a more portable option if you are wanting to move it around, or you don't have a place outside to keep it. But this one is I think $3.99. That's another great option.
Totally. Yeah, that's great advice. It's also a good weeknight grill too.
Yeah, definitely. So you can take a couple steaks. I always do burgers on it. You can fit about 5 burgers, which is a good number for our household. But that's great. Lights fast. The Kamado Joe Jr. does.
Yeah, can't beat that. Let's see. Bill's saying, have you done smash burgers on the carbon steel griddle yet?
Yes. Yeah, that was actually my first cook. If you actually check me out, we were going to kind of go over the socials here a little bit later. If you follow me on Instagram at Shelburn, you can find all of my connected cooks and the carbon steel griddle cooks as well. That was actually the first thing that I did, and it turned out great. I had, like I was saying during the presentation, the class tonight, there's different zones, and actually, so it's a little concave in the middle, so the juices and the heat kind of builds into the middle, and then you can push them out to the sides if you want to cool them off, or they're cooking at different speeds or whatever like that. But the smash burgers turned out amazing on this. I also did a cook last week that was Philly cheesesteaks. Some of the best I've had, that I've made personally. Cooked super well on this. Very similar to the process we did tonight. Cook the peppers and onions first. Some people don't like peppers in their Philly cheesesteaks. I found that out from some people in Philly. They're like, try it without the peppers next time. Okay. But I kind of called them the St. Louis cheesesteaks. I actually added Provel cheese, which is a processed cheese for Emo's Pizza. I used that, and then Provel or provolone on there. But it turned out amazing. It was so good. Very same process as what we did tonight. But yeah, as far as that, I've done chicken fajitas, very similar to the recipe that's on the Kamado Joe website. That was, I think, my second cook that I've done. We did breakfast on here one morning. Well, it was probably around 11. It was brunch. We cooked bacon. We had bacon sausage patties. We had those, pre-made hash browns. that look kind of similar to McDonald's. You can get those in stores. Just cook those right on the grill in a little bit of oil. Turned out perfect. We did our eggs 2 to 3 different ways. We got everything going on here for breakfast. It was fantastic.
That sounds so good. Let's see. Patrick is asking, is there a Kamado Joe wok? How perfect. Yes, there is a wok. It's a new carbon steel accessory as well. Tim has one. There you go. So you would just put it on the accessory rack to cook. Have you used that?
It's got a flat bottom.
Perfect.
And it's got a handle, but this is the same carbon steel, so it's super non-stick. This is for the 18-inch Kamado, so I can kind of show you how that setup works. So if you have the divide and conquer, so you have this, I don't know if you can see that ring or not. So when you're divide and conquer with your Kamado Joe, you get this ring. And so this will allow you to hold a wok. You can also hold pots and pans, just about anything that'll fit in there. This is great for frying. So what you would do is basically pull out your rack here, and I'm going to get my second camera so you can see what's going on in here. I'm getting out here with one hand. Okay. All right, so I'm going to grab my second camera, assuming that it's still on.
I think I might need to refresh real quick. I'm seeing black screen. Wait for it.
I'm going to refresh real quick. But so if you haven't used that accessory, or you're wondering what that is, when you get your Kamado Joe, that ring is super handy. I use it all the time, just mainly for wok cooking. I don't know if I get the camera or not. Anyway, so you would then just set this on that accessory. I don't know if mine's going to work or not. Technology.
That's all right.
No worries. Let's refresh. I'll get off of Wi-Fi and go to cell here. Maybe. Or not. It's frozen.
That's all right. No worries.
Okay. But yeah, so that's the wok is great. It actually allows you, because it's size and it's got this handle, allows you to just kind of get your more control. You can flip if you need to. Okay, I'm just gonna scrap that camera idea. Okay, but yeah, so I do love it. I've used this probably 3 times since I've had it. This is a fairly new product from Kamado Joe. A lot of these products are the Griddle, the wok, the paella pan. They also have split half pans that I'm dying to use them. I can't wait. I'm gonna get those. But that basically allows you to have a lot of times, and so I've been cooking on Kamado for 10 years or so, and so a lot of times, most of your pans, either you've got a skillet or something like a casserole dish is square or rectangle, and it doesn't fit in your round Kamado. And so what Kamado did was come out with the split half pans, and so these are basically like there's 2 half moons. One is got holes in the bottom, so you can actually get the fire and the flame through the bottom. The other is going to be a flat bottom that has these little dimples that are very similar to the paella pan that kind of keeps stuff from sticking to the bottom as it cooks. But those are great, so you can do 2 different sides. You can actually take advantage of the different levels in your divide and conquer. So if you want to get something maybe closer to the heat, the half pans will let you do that. Super, super cool. This is Michelle showing some photos here of the griddle, and then the paella pan. And then there's the half pans on the left of me. And so that's what I was talking about with the different the divide and conquer. So you've got, your steaks down low, getting those closer to the fire, and then up at the top you've got your vegetables that are cooking indirect with a ceramic diffuser underneath, and then the one on the right is the wok, and that's actually using that ring that I showed you to sit on. Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks for going over that. That's great. Let's see. Samuel is asking, he says, off topic, but can you talk about the difference between Kettle Kamado Joe versus a regular kettle grill?
The Kettle Joe, so the Kamado Joe, Kettle Joe has ceramic pieces that are in the bottom. And so it's very similar to the fire ring that's in a ceramic model. And so what that's going to do, it's actually like if you are going to do something low and slow, you're not going to have to feed it charcoal as much as you would a Weber kettle or a comparable grill. It's going to help retain that heat down on the bottom, so you can keep it going. This saves time. Another thing that the Kettle Joe comes with is a slow roller. And in the section in the middle, it kind of looks like a spaceship when it's together. Basically, it's a section in the middle that's from between the bottom and the lid that has these sides that come in. And so what that does is it creates a little chamber for smoke to come in and swirl around the meat that you're cooking. So if you are doing something low and slow, it'll come in. There's a metal diffuser in there to keep the direct heat from coming in, but that'll help you swirl. It kind of swirls the smoke around and gets you better flavor into your meat. It also prevents the direct heat. But that's the main difference. Is it also has a tray that pulls out to empty your ash, just like the other Kamado Joes, which is a super handy feature. So you're not, messing around with that little, the little tray that's like, get the charcoal out, and it dumps into this bucket or whatever. But or the tray that falls out on your deck, everybody knows about that. But so that's the main difference is. So it's just an upgraded experience for the kettle. And I used it last week. I do it kind of for my hot and fast stuff. So I cook burgers and hot dogs and brats, stuff like that. I took out the slow roller from the middle. And so it's basically just a straight up grill now is what I use it for.
Awesome.
But, yeah.
Let's see. Patrick is asking, so back to the carbon steel. What is the max temp for carbon steel? I actually have the answer to this. So technically it can't go over 750 degrees, but Tim and I were talking right before this class. I think most of the time, Tim, you probably say this is true, like 350 to 400 is kind of the sweet spot. Is that true?
So you're not going to want your griddle to get too hot, just because it depends what you're cooking, I guess. So tonight we had peppers and onions. If you got that thing blazing hot at 500 degrees or whatever, you put those peppers on, they're going to burn almost immediately. So especially when you add the oil or butter or whatever. So what you're going to do is I like to use the griddle and keep it up around 400 degrees. And so kind of at the max. So what that does is it actually gives you enough heat to sear things like the steaks we had tonight, but it's not going to overcook. You want everything to kind of cook evenly and slowly, so you're not going to be, fried and charred on the outside and uncooked and crunchy pepper on the inside. So, and that kind of goes with the steaks. Steaks, you can go either way with that. If you like eating rare steaks, I do sometimes, but throw it on there as hot as you can. But usually if I'm going to do that, I'm going to use a cast iron skillet instead. That way I have more isolated, just turn it, that kind of stuff. So, but do keep it at lower temperatures. A lot of the accessories, the Kamado Joes will get up to 1,000 degrees, but you don't necessarily ever have to do that. It is kind of bad for them sometimes, but these things do have max temperatures, just as far as anything made by Desora as well. So, the Dojo, the slow roller chamber for the larger grills, those also have a max temp on them as well. And I believe it's 500 degrees for anything from Desora. So, and that's just the brand that makes the Kamado Joe accessories. Pay attention to those temps.
Yeah. That's really good advice. That's awesome. Yeah, let's see. Mike's asking if your neighbors love to eat your food or they just smell it.
Yeah. I knew they're not outside right now, but it's everyone can smell it, and so it can turn up quite a bit. And I had my neighbor on the other side of me over here said, "Can you cook some ribs for my mother-in-law?" Yes. I told her. I told him I was like, buy the ribs. I'll cook them. I'll even show you how to cook them.
That's awesome.
So it happens a lot. We like to have a lot of parties.
Pool party in the 100-degree heat.
Yeah, yes, I'm getting in there after this.
I'm sure. I would too. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I think our questions are winding down over here. I just want to do a quick thank you guys all for hanging out with us. We're so glad that you participated and fired up with us tonight. Make sure to check out the website if you're interested in any of these accessories. There's links to those. We'll send a link to those as well. Check out the Connected Joe. If you are on the Big Marker platform, just stick around. We'll do the giveaway here at the very end. And then be sure to check out social. So, at Kamado Joe, at T Shelburn, like Tim talked about. There's also incredible Facebook groups. Tim is an admin of one of them.
Yeah, on Facebook, I'm an administrator on Kamado Joe Nation, and we actually just passed 30,000 members this week.
Which is
so,
awesome.
It's a big group of just great cooks, home cooks. Everybody's showing their stuff. You can ask questions if you have any issues with doing a brisket. You can post that out there, get information.
That's a great resource as you're learning, as you're getting your feet wet, or you're just trying to learn what to do with a specific cut of meat or just a specific recipe. It's so great to watch.
Well, and another thing about that is, and I post all my stuff there, but it's also like when you get your new Kamado Joe and you're like,
yeah,
what is this thing?
Exactly.
What do I do with this?
What happens here?
Out there, 200 people comment on it and tell you what to do with the. So.
Yep. I'd say the same is true for YouTube too. There's tons of resources on YouTube, tons of great videos. So check those out. We put out some recipes from every now and again, every few weeks, with regular recipe content. So check that out too. Share your photos of your fajitas on social. We'd love to see them. Tag us, tag Tim, tag Kamado Joe. We'd love to see them. But thank you guys so much for being a part of this. We will let go of our YouTube friends, say goodbye to them for the evening. And we will do our giveaway for Karbon Steel. So with the people still on the line with us, thank you for sticking around. Just a quick random selection of winner. Let's see. All right. Andy Constantow, I will be in touch with you specifically to get you our Karbon Steel griddle. Let's just do one more for funsies, because why not? All right. Brian.